ladies and gentlemen, Makalesi here. Thanks for coming back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Makalesi. I've been studying esoteric information for 20 years, and now's the time I feel like I should share it with everyone. A little bit about myself. I was raised Catholic, and then now I studied at Kabbalah, and the reason why I left, not that I left Catholic, but a lot of the stuff that Catholics were doing, particularly children, I was not interested in, I was not liking, so it made me search. So I started searching more primarily with stuff associated with Christianity, like Kabbalah, the Hebrew alphabet, the Bible, Jewish mysticism, things like that. And that just made me learn more. But then once I learned that, it made me transfer into learning other stuff. And here I am. So now I just want to share the information I have with you guys, and then we can learn. Now, in my videos, I decided that I just want to build on all my videos. So if you're continuously watching my videos, you'll consistently get new information. And at the same time, I do believe in research. I believe everyone should do their own research, not just listen to me. So I provide you a lot of information so you can do your own research, so you can come to your own awakening. Because again, my concept of awakening is, I don't believe in ascension per se, because from my understanding and looking into it, ascension is more like leaving your body, right? Going out of your body, leaving your mind, going somewhere else. Now, we don't want to do that because you watched my class video. There was something going on with the human mind, right? Because from Eve, right? And I'm just going to go into it. If you're lost, just go back to my other videos and then just maybe build up onto this one. So based on my other video, I talked about the fall. And in the fall, we know that there was a split. Now, religion tries to say that it's about the physical first man, first woman, and that's not the case. It's really the first thought. The word was created with a thought. Thought comes from your consciousness. Thoughts create reality. Therefore, it's about Christ consciousness. So Christianity is about Christ consciousness. So right now, if you really pay attention, if you just look at yourself, we don't have any consciousness, right? We don't really have any consciousness. We're just observing ourselves. We don't have consciousness to the upper world, to God. So when you understand Adam and Eve, you know it's about Christ consciousness, because Eve is the subconscious. Adam is the conscious. So when he said, he the first man and woman was actually Adam and Eve. So when you understand that in lots of spirituality, you always have the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. You also have like the three initiates in Kabbalion. You have the Trinity. You even have, in Kabbalah, it could be Chokmah, and Binah. So the Trinity is very important because in Judaism and Christianity, it's talking about the fall and how to correct it. So even in Judaism, they have something called the tikkun, where you're supposed to make the righteous act to reverse the fall. So the fall is a subconscious falling. So when we know that subconscious Adam and Eve, the subconscious fell, the fall is also associated with the human, because the human body and the human subconscious is the one that fell. So that is basically saying that we fell, and where we fell is to earth. Now, when we fell, we only have our subconscious, so we don't even have consciousness. So the whole process of making things right is trying to get our consciousness back. So why do we lose our consciousness? So it seemed like in the story of the fall, it seemed like someone split the human consciousness, either through genetic manipulation or something happening, because it's just really interesting. So when you hear things like Kabbalions, for example, that's basically talking about the three initiates. The three initiates against the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. And also when you hear the name Israel, that's also the three initiates. And I'll go ahead and explain that to you. So that's what this video is about. So when you understand the Israel is actually Isis, right, from Egypt. It's Ra as the Egyptian deity of the sun god, and divine masculine, and El. So it's divine feminine, divine masculine, and El, which is God. Now El, if you don't really understand El, can you see that? There you go. So Isis is divine feminine. She's a wisdom keeper, and she's a person who actually creates. So because Isis is divine feminine, she's one who actually creates. So when she fell in the lower world. But if you've been watching my video, it seems like she fell, but then when she fell, there was some type of shadow off alien type of grid that basically so it seems like they intentionally made her fall, trapped her in the lower world, and then extracted her creative power because she was a goddess, and then tried to make a shadow tree off of that. So right now we're at the point where our mind is being kind of manipulated through or just they're using our subconscious power to manifest. So usually lots of spiritual things is about your subconscious. So in the lower world, it's kind of like the holographic universe, and it's a holographic universe because we're the subconscious, because the subconscious is connected to Eve and Isis. It's talking about the divine feminine, which is the powerhouse of God. So basically they extracted the powerhouse, which is divine feminine, and then just left it as the masculine, which is Ra. So when you hear these three ancient deities, Isis is an Egyptian deity. Now she's really interesting because if you know her story, she's the one that had her divine masculine, which is someone like Ra, her divine masculine, which is someone like El. They initially ripped him apart. So when she fell, she was all fragmented and he was fragmented. So Isis, in the story of the Egyptian, she had to put all the pieces together and resurrect the divine masculine. Sounds familiar? Resurrection in this sense is the resurrection of the consciousness. We need to resurrect the consciousness, and that's the whole point of the fall. So when you have these three deities, Isis is an Egyptian deity from Egypt. She is a wisdom keeper, she's a high priestess, and she's the one who actually was the word. So with Isis, she breathed the world with the word. So she is the first breath. She is basically the divine feminine at the original point. So she's very, very powerful. El is the Egyptian deity. He is the high sun god, the source of the cosmic order. He's also associated with the Christ consciousness, or sometimes they call him Horus in Egypt. El is a god in early Semitic language, in Canaanite and Hebrew. So when you have them all together, it's the father, the mother, and the source, which is a unifying divine intelligence. But what happened is this name, Isis, Ra, and El, got fragmented. So what happened was that when it got fragmented, they fragmented it and inverted it. So what I mean by fragmented is they took it apart. Because if you really pay attention, a lot of stuff in Egypt, like Isis and Osiris, and here the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, we got separated. And what happened is our consciousness got separated and we got fragmented. So when our consciousness got separated, we're only the subconscious. So therefore, our thoughts can create reality because we have Isis in us. She gave us a piece of herself, that earlier spark. So we can manifest. But what happened is some type of shadow government is taking our manifesting ability and creating false light. So what is false light? False light is when they take the teachings that sound beautiful, right, about or authentic spirituality, and then repackage it as something new, like a new age spirituality, and then they just resent it, and religions too, and they repackage it. So therefore, when you follow it, you're actually giving away your essence to them, your manifesting ability. So that way you don't really get enlightenment. You would notice that you can go to church, you never get enlightenment, you never get awakening, you never get your consciousness, you never get wisdom. So that's what that is. So when you understand that, what happened was, it seems like the patriarchal society structure basically dismantled it. So what happened was they made Isis. She is basically the Holy Spirit, which means she's not alive, right? Because she fell. But then they also demonized her. Now Isis is also associated, when she fell to earth. So here we have a diagram, right? You have Keter, which is a crown. So that's where the breath comes in. So this is where everything starts, from the breath. When God said, let there be light, and he breathes it with light. The first light and first breath is the most powerful aspect of the tree, because that can dissolve everything below. So if you ever pray with the first light and the first breath and the divine feminine. Those three will cleanse the tree of life from all distortions, right? So what happened is, Keter is the breath. This right here is where Ra is, because remember, everything started up here. So what happened is everything started up here, and then it got split. The divine masculine stayed here. The divine feminine came here. So this is Earth, the divine feminine plan. The divine plan embodied. So what happened is, this is where we're at now. She fell from here to here. That's Eve. The divine masculine fell from here to here. So this is where we're at. And this is the subconscious. This is actually also the astral plane. So what happened, we fell here, which is Earth. And when we had Earth, this is the divine plan of embodiment. In the Bible, is considered Jerusalem. It's the sacred temple. It's also the Shekinah. So Shekinah in Judaism is basically the divine female aspect of God that waited and fell. And she's here waiting, which is Isis, which is Mary Magdalene, which is also the divine feminine. and which is also earth. So to get back into here, we need to get back into earth. And you would notice that they always don't like earth, and they also don't like the divine feminine, and they also don't like indigenous cultures. And the reason they don't like that, and that's why they do a lot of colonization, is because that's earth, divine feminine, and the elements is a way to get back to Tavarith, believe it or not. So if you want to get back into divine feminine, you have to once acknowledge the divine feminine. You also have to get connected with the elements, which is earth, and you have to get connected with your body, because your body and earth are connected. So that's why if they demonize a female and they demonize earth, they're actually demonizing you, because that is part of you. We're stewards of earth. So everything that I go through, you guys have to go through too, okay? So so right here is, this is the water, the moon, right? This is the bridge to the dream. So this is where we're at. This is where we want to make contact. This is where our higher self is. This is our lower self. So up here is where is the moon, is the bridge, because between here and here, this is the bridge. So we can communicate with this right here. So this is the bridge, the moon, and it's where dreams, the blueprint is. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to come in here, make contact with our higher self, and then embody the wisdom down here. So really from the crown, which is your crown chakra, from in Hindu religion, which is a Keter, which is original God, we need it to come all the way down here. So from there, when we start to clean our shadow, be elementally in balance. So you need to clean your elements, the four elements, which we'll get into later videos. You also need to clean your shadow. You also need to be grounded, and you need to be humble. Once you get there, you can make contact with the upper worlds, and then you can embody the wisdom here and then ground it to earth. So what happened, earth right now is going through a lot of stuff. For example, that she's going through a lot of false light and ascension. Because if you pay attention to spirituality, I always talk about ascension, which is leaving your body and going out into a different place. But where's the other place we're going to go? True spirituality is about coming in yourself, remembering yourself, waking up yourself, remembrance. Because remember, we have amnesia because our minds has been split. So if we do the right work, we can actually get our consciousness back, which is up here. And then what happens, we want to ground that into the physical. So it's not necessarily ascension, it's coming within, remembering yourself, and then coming one with yourself. So really it's about remembering. So this whole concept is about removing your amnesia, believe it or not. That's what the concept is about. So right here is the higher self, which is also where it harmonizes the female and masculine, right? It's the heart, it's the sun, and it's the divine will. It's the truth of unity. So right here, once you get contact up here, then you get yin and yang. So you get balance of masculine and feminine. And once you get these two, masculine and feminine, then your prayers, when you pray, your prayer, because you made contact with the upper world, your prayers would be powerful. But the thing about it is, when you pray, you got to remember the law of mirror still is in effect, because cosmic law has been activated. So whatever you put out in the universe, kind of like karma, will be reflected back to you, and faster, because the law of mirror comes in. So if you pray for someone, pray for something you want for yourself. And it's better to pray for other people because you want to put it out in the universe. Remember, we live in a holographic universe. So if you pray for peace, you'll get peace back. If you pray for someone else's well-being, you get well-being. If you pray for like love, you get love back. Because what happens is with this world, we kind of got, there's you would notice that there is no divine feminine. So the reason why they don't like the divine feminine, they call her the Holy Spirit, and they demonized her, is because she is the powerhouse. And divine feminine does not just mean women. It just means divine feminine of all of us, our subconscious, our divine feminine, because we're all divine, masculine and feminine. So our divine feminine is like the virgin, right? Because she's in the lower world. And when they say virgin, they don't mean like virgin. They mean like virgin as in she's teaching, she's learning herself, because you don't want to get caught up too much. I mean, you should learn from everything, because I did too, but you shouldn't get too much into the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge is when you get into knowledge, but knowledge is subjective, right? It's not. So right here, Eve, she fell for the tree of knowledge. This is the tree of life. She fell for the tree of knowledge, but she should have been eating from the tree of life. The tree of life is what Jesus said you should eat from. The tree of knowledge is the false tree. And why is it the false tree? Because it's talked about knowledge. Knowledge is subjective, and knowledge could be hijacked, right? Where you want to get away from knowledge, but you want to get to wisdom. When you get to wisdom from the upper world, you can actually, once you get in contact with your higher self, you can start to have gnosis, which is direct knowing. So you can either get the knowledge of, let's just say, religion, which removes Isis, the divine feminine. But if you don't, if you just primarily, like, religion just focuses on the Christ consciousness, if you don't bridge it to the divine feminine, you're not going to get contact to him. So they purposely excluded divine feminine, because remember, the divine feminine is the one that creates, and she's the one that's the virgin that will make contact with the higher self. So if you don't want people to ascend, you remove the divine feminine, you remove the elements, because the divine feminine is earth too. So the divine feminine, earth, and indigenous people are the ones that are the stewardships of earth. So what religion did, and this is just not in modern time, this also happened in Babylonian, they demonized the woman. And if you look at all the ancient Egypts, like their statues, they took off the nose. And the reason why all the noses are taken off is because they knew that the divine breath of the when they said, let there be light, and then the first breath, the divine feminine, is actually powerful. So if you pray with the divine breath, and you pray with the first light, that is going to be more powerful, because the first light is actually the original light. And shadow groups really manifest with false light. So false light is when they mess up the coordinates. So for example, they take the name Israel, which is the three deities, and they made Israel. And then when people either have anger towards it, or like, oh, there's so genocide, they're actually, in essence, they think that they're like cursing God, but the upper world is not that dumb. But for those who don't know, you're subconsciously doing that. So they try to put a lot of shadow on the name, and therefore people don't like it. But really what's happening, it's inverted, because a lot of original spirituality, which has light, has been inverted with false light. So that's why I just want to go ahead and share with you guys as much as I can, so you can do your own research. You can find and come to your own conclusions. And that's my video. I did have more to say, but let's see. Oh God, there's so much. That is nice false light sunshine. Yeah, I think I said everything. So that's it. I hope you guys like it. I'll see you in my next video. And peace.